Yesterday upheld Obamacare, as Justice Scalia called it, SCOTUS care. The Supreme Court is rewriting laws. Today, they have made another historic call. Same-sex couples can marry now in all 50 states. States must recognize all marriages, and all states, it is now legal to have same-sex marriage. States are required to grant marriage license to same-sex couples and recognize valid same-sex marriages from other states. This is going to change everything. They have now changed the definition of marriage. Okay? That's not really what I'm concerned about. I am concerned about now what this means to you if you believe in traditional marriage. If you believe in the God-ordained sacrament of marriage. What does that mean to you? Stu, give me a couple of things from the decision here.
I'm scanning through. One of them...
It just came down a couple of minutes ago.
Just a couple minutes ago. It was a 5-4 decision. Kennedy wrote the decision, which was sort of the expected outcome. I mean, this is not a surprise, we should point out. We've been talking about it for a while, but this is the expected result. It was kind of a question of whether it would be 5-4 or 6-3. Roberts, Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Scalia all dissented. And they
Roberts dissented?
Yes, so it was 5-4. All four of them wrote separate dissents in this case, which is pretty rare. Usually one will write a dissent, maybe two, and the others will join in on it. All four of them wrote separate cases as to why they dissented. Clarence Thomas writes, our Constitution, like the Declaration of Independence before it, was predicated on a simple truth. One's liberty, not to mention one's dignity, was something to be shielded from, not provided by, the state. Today's decisions cast that truth aside. And in its haste to reach the desired result, the majority misapplies a clause focused on due process to afford substantive rights, disregards the most plausible understanding of liberty protected by that clause, and distorts the principles on which this nation was founded. Its decision will have inestimable is that the way to, I can't say that word.
Yes.
Inestimable consequences for our Constitution and our society. I respectfully dissent. That's Clarence Thomas. They all wrote them, though. Alito...
because this is going to... People don't understand. Right now, today, I guess we can celebrate and say, okay, we can be tolerant. But by tomorrow and the coming days, you will see that that is not what this is going to mean. This is not going to mean diversity. This is not going to mean tolerance. Now, the real key here will be, now that you have gay marriage... will you stop? Will you allow diversity to be diversity? You said this is about love. You said this is about who you love. Is it? Because now it must stop. Now you're on equal footing. Now are you going to say, but I want to crush you and your rights? And that is what's coming. Our churches had better wake up. Because game is on now.
Here's Scalia. This is talking about our history. The judiciary is the least dangerous of the federal branches because it has neither force nor will, but merely judgment, and must ultimately depend on the aid of the executive arm and the states, even for the efficacy of its judgments. With each decision of ours that takes from the people a question properly left to them, with each decision that is unabashedly based not on law, but on the reasoned judgment, in quotes, of a bare majority of this court, we move one step closer to being reminded of our impotence.
He is so good.
He is good, man. And it's,
What is the majority view? Kennedy, what did he say?
I can try to pull something. I'm scanning through it. It's obviously,
No, I know.
a long judgment, so I don't have any quotes pulled from that yet. But I can go through it as you're going through the rest of the developments. But it's a case, I think, and I think that the important thing that you've been talking about for a while is what else does this mean? And I think the Kennedy judgment is going to tell us a little bit about that.
Can we get Kelly Shackelford on, please?
Yeah, he is. I think he wanted to take a a little time to digest it.
Okay, so we'll have him at the bottom of the hour, maybe, and he will digest this. And this is a really tough day, because as a libertarian, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But this is not the way to do it. You don't do it through the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, now that this is official, you cannot have a chaplain in the military say that homosexuality is wrong. I believe you're going to treat now the churches, all churches that choose to say, I'm going to read the Bible as it's written. You're going to have those churches be compared to the Westboro Baptist Church. And there is a huge difference between Christianity and the Westboro Baptist Church. You're not going to be able to, as a church, you're not going to be able to say, well, we don't have members that are gay, actively married. They can't be married in our church. That's against federal law now. You can't say we can't hire people who are openly gay or gay in our organization because we stand against that. You can't now. You must hire them.
Well, and that's, to be fair, that is going to be litigated, obviously.
Yes, oh yes, but those are the arguments. And this is,
yeah.
you didn't have the Supreme Court ruling saying this is the law of the land. Now you have the Supreme Court ruling saying this is it. This is where the United States of America, the government, stands.
Here's from the majority opinion. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than once they were. This sounds like vows. They don't sound like a Supreme Court decision.
Hang on just a second. Just so you know, family has been officially and will now be officially redesigned.
Yeah, I mean,
it has to be defined differently.
Even if you agree, it's depending on how you stand on this issue. It's going to be a lot of work. I mean, you're putting a lot. I mean, and that's fine.
Mom and dad. The term "mom and dad" in the traditional family is over. Now you're parent one and parent two.
In forming the marital union, two people become something greater than they once were. As some of the petitioners in these cases demonstrate, marriage embodies a love that may endure even past death. It would misunderstand these men and women to say they disrespect the idea of marriage. Their plea is that they do respect it so deeply that they seek to find its fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right.
Okay.
This judgment of the Court of Appeals, Sixth Circuit, is reversed. It is so ordered.
Okay, so if that indeed is true, then we're not going to have a problem. But I don't believe that to be true. I believe that to be true for the vast majority of gay people. I do not believe that that is true for the activists. And so will the gay community separate itself from the activists? And here's why I say that. What he just wrote, is that reflected by this leading gay activist? I want you to listen.
I agree. It's a no-brainer that we should have the right to marry. But I also think equally that it's a no-brainer that the institution of marriage should not exist. So that causes my brain some trouble. And part of it, why it causes me trouble, is because fighting for gay marriage generally involves lying about what we're going to do with marriage when we get there. Because we lie that the institution of marriage is not going to change. And that is a lie. The institution of marriage is going to change, and it should change. And again, I don't think it should exist. I don't like taking part in creating fictions about my life. That's sort of not what I had in mind when I came out 30 years ago. I have 3 kids who have 5 parents, more or less. And I don't see why they shouldn't have 5 parents legally. I don't see why we should choose 2 of those parents and make them into a sanctioned couple.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Listen to this. This is Robert's dissent. If you are among the many Americans of whatever sexual orientation who favor expanding same-sex marriage, by all means celebrate today's decision. Celebrate the achievement of a desired goal. Celebrate the opportunity for a new expression of commitment to a partner. Celebrate the availability of new benefits. But do not celebrate the Constitution. It had nothing to do with it. Wow.
Doesn't. There's no place for marriage in the Constitution. The Supreme Court and the United States government has nothing to do with anybody's marriage. None. It's going to be used as a tool. Now, gay activists will say, yes, it was used as a tool against us for a very long time. And there will be a lot of people that want to use it as a tool against hetero couples now. But we are officially now on equal footing. The question is, will people still try to push for even more? The answer is yes. Also, this changes everything that your kids are now taught in school. This could mean the end of radio broadcasts like mine. I am on now public airwaves, regulated by the federal government. If I say, or anybody on this show says, they're for traditional marriage, which I am in my personal life, I don't believe the government has any place in it. So if you are for gay marriage, that's up to you. I and my faith dictate that I am for marriage the way I believe God intended it, between man and a woman. That now puts this radio broadcast in jeopardy because we are on federally regulated airwaves. I will tell you that I am going to begin today looking for other vehicles besides the radio broadcast, just so in a 2-year period, should somebody start to mount this, what does that mean?
Why would that affect you? I mean, your opinion on same-sex marriage is more inclusive than...
I go to Ask Kelly Shackelford when he gets on.
Yeah.
We had this conversation. Mm-hmm. I go to a church that believes in same-sex marriage, and I believe in that. I will stand for my church's right to not follow the law if they say it has to now hire homosexuals to be, for instance, in our temples. No, that's not what our church does. That's not what we believe. That's not our doctrine. If they say we have to marry gay couples, no. And I will stand with my church, just as I would stand with your church if you wanted to marry gay couples. I was never against churches that decided they were going to have female priests or get married, marry gay couples. That's fine. That's up to you. But you can't force my church to do it. And that puts this program in jeopardy. That puts all programs in jeopardy. That puts anybody who stands up for traditional marriage, that puts you up in jeopardy at work, because you are now going against what the federal government says we must now all accept. If not, you're a bigot. And now the law has given these activist groups real teeth. The world has changed. This week is going to go down as a very, very historic week. May I suggest we return to God, and we do so quickly, and we beg for his forgiveness on all of the things that we have done wrong to one another, and we try to find our way to one another, because the world has changed. The fundamental transformation of America is over. The president has fulfilled his promise 5 days before he started. The fundamental transformation of America is here. We are no longer a country that is following the Constitution of the United States of America. That is a thing of the past.